As we creep closer and closer to the start of the 2025 MLS season, the LA Galaxy was back in action at the Coachella Valley Invitational. In other news, the captain is pissed off. Sanabria makes his debut in a Galaxy kit. Superman makes his official return to Southern California. And although it's been raining, there is a Chicago fire warning for this weekend. Let's get into it.
You're tuned into news across the galaxy where they talk all things LA Galaxy with the Nag Boys. Let's start nagging.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to News Across the Galaxy. This is the Midweek Show. As always, I'm your host, Edgar Zuniga. Joining me on the ones and twos is Bryant. And can we please offer a warm welcome to good friend of the show, Nick, host of the Feed the Fired podcast, covering all things Chicago Fire. Welcome to the show, Nick.
Edgar, great to be back talking MLS, Galaxy, Fire with you. Bryant, thanks for making me sound and look good as well.
Nick, it's been a very eventful offseason, to say the least, for the Chicago Fire. What a difference a few months make, and it all began with a big hire up at the top. Can you tell us what happened?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's kind of funny. A lot of the Fire fans have been saying, like, we haven't been this optimistic since last season. And you want to temper your expectations just a little bit because you know the history of this club and you know that we've been struggling. But this has a completely new feel for it because, like you said, of the man they brought in at the top. They have parted ways with the vast majority of their executives on the sporting side and brought in everyone's favorite head coach, right? Greg Berhalter. He is the head coach and director of sport. So he is like the number two person in the Chicago Fire organization now, reporting directly to the owner, Joe Mansueto. He has full control over the sporting side of the organization. And he came in with a plan. He came in ready to get to work. The Chicago Fire roster has been absolutely flipped from last season. They have moved on from, I want to say, 13 different players, whether it's not picking up contract options or renewing contracts, loans, departures, cuts. And then they have already added at least 11 first-team contracts, not to mention a lot of signings on the second-team level and getting some homegrowns and developing the academy system. So that's the big picture here, that Greg Berhalter in one offseason flipped the roster, starting to establish some culture, and now we'll see if they can put it together on the pitch once the season kicks off.
And it doesn't matter whether your team had a bad season like Chicago did or a championship winning season. There's always some kind of turmoil, some kind of drama in Major League Soccer because, as we have learned, as we have seen since the very beginning of this league, winning gets punished. The DC United got punished to the point where they became irrelevant. And we've seen LAFC go through it. We've seen Columbus go through it. And now the LA Galaxy was taken to the gallows and whipped in front of everyone. They lost a few players, but Will Kuntz has been doing his best to try to refill the roster. But it comes at a price. And just recently, an ELA Times reported that Maya Yoshida talked openly about some of his gripes with not just with the team, but just the whole situation. Um, his base salary in 2024 was $800,000, which is less than six of his teammates. We're talking about the captain of the team, former captain of the Japanese national team, World Cup veteran. He helped LA Galaxy win MLS Cup, and he was rewarded with a pay cut. Yay, fantastic. He literally said, quote unquote, that is BS to the LA Times. He said that it was unfair. That becoming a champion and then you end up seeing your salary get lowered. Um, and that everybody knows this shouldn't happen. It's something that a lot of Galaxy fans and MLS fans in general have been talking about. Um, he says that the biggest reason, probably why he did not leave LA Galaxy, is because his daughter is currently attending school here in Southern California, and that because he's been bouncing around from team to team and league to league, he's had to change schools so much that now he wants to make sure that she is in a stable environment. Because as she's getting older, she's going to want to probably plant roots. And so, as a parent myself, I completely understand that. I know you probably see it the same way, Nick. It's important, for kids to have a stable situation, especially when they're young. But yeah, it's a difficult decision for Maya Yoshida to have to go through this. It's a reality here in Major League Soccer. What's your take on this, Nick? Because we're talking about it as Galaxy fans, but what's your take on it from your point of view?
No, and I get the parenting angle of it. Like I've got 3 little ones myself, and so you absolutely want to give them a stable environment so they can worry about what counts, school, sports, faith, family, rather than where we're going to move to. So I get that. I appreciate that. What I am worried about here when we hear stars of the league and being the captain of the Galaxy, you are a star of the league, whether or not you're voted on the all-star teams or whether or not your kit's going to be top 10 sale. You're the captain of the Galaxy. You're a star in this league. People listen to you, and not just people in the States. People overseas are going to listen to you. Potential players coming to the league are going to be listening to you. So that is my bigger concern here. We get the business of soccer, especially here in the United States, but he does make a very reasonable point. You just won a trophy and you're going to get paid even less. Is that going to deter some other players potentially from coming to Major League Soccer? The league has made such big strides getting young talent with all the with the U22 initiatives. They have made big strides getting prime talent with the DP roster slots, with expanded salaries, with expanded roster rules just in the last year or two. Now you've got a star in the league saying, this isn't right. I shouldn't be taking a pay cut. I hope that it doesn't affect other players, but that's my biggest worry with this statement. Do you see that happening yourself, or what else do you think is going to come of all this?
No, I think it's already happening because one thing that we saw here in LA, and I don't know if you guys saw it across Major League Soccer, but Marco Royce, not recent, I mean, pretty recently, he was on a bike ride, and one of his friends, I think, was recording him and asking him questions, and Marco Royce said that he was upset. Yeah, he wasn't happy with the aftermath of winning MLS Cup, which, yeah, it's fantastic to win a championship, but then seeing many of your teammates, players that were important during this cup run, have to depart the team because, well, they just can't fit under this rigid salary cap. And he said he just didn't get it. He goes, it's something that's unheard of, especially in the Bundesliga, right? But then we look at the Bundesliga and we see that Bayern just had that stranglehold on the Bundesliga for so long. uh, MLS is set up to prevent that, but there has to be there always has to be some kind of balance, right? Because we're getting to the point where, like,
Mhm.
yeah, you're making sure that there's parity across the league, but you're starting to hurt, like you said, you're starting to hurt the image of the league, so that players coming from abroad are like, yeah, do I really want to go there? Because if I'm too successful, I'm gonna have to take a pay cut at some point. um
Right.
yeah, so
Right, and
it's
and I see you look at a lot of the contracts, guys aren't getting contracts more than 2, 3, 4 seasons usually, and so they've gotta understand that this league is one that's constantly in flux. So, I do understand Royce's point, but at the same time, I'm like, "Did you not know where you were going or what you were getting yourself into here? Like, tell your agent to do some homework." So I don't feel too bad for him, but yeah, at the same time, this is the parity in the league, this is the way it's set up. Give it a few more years, give it another generation of ownership, and then maybe we'll see things open up.
And other news, Lucas Sanabria finally made his debut with the LA Galaxy. One of the things that happens when you have to let go of so much talent is that you have to bring in new talent. And in this case, Lucas Sanabria is one of those people that are going to be asked to try their best to fill the shoes, fill that emptiness by the Ricky Puig injury. But Lucas Sanabria, he came in. He's 21 years old. By now, a lot of Galaxy fans should already be aware about him coming into the league. Well, he made his debut today against Minnesota United in a match at the Coachella Valley Invitational. In case you haven't heard, LA Galaxy won that match with a brace by Tucker Lepley. He almost made it three. It was him and Miguel Berry making a 2-on-1 run towards the Minnesota goal. But instead of passing the ball to a wide open Miguel Berry, Tucker Lepley said, I'm trying to go for my hat trick. And it was saved. And then Miguel Berry was looking at him like, hey, what am I, chopped liver? But I understand. If you're a forward, you wanna get that hat trick, even if it is, Miguel Berry. But yeah, Lucas Sanabria looked pretty good. We saw that Marco Royce was on the bench. He never did come in, so that still makes you wonder at which point he will play. Maybe he'll make his debut this weekend against Chicago. Would that be nice for you, Nick? Have Marco Royce go against Chicago Fire?
I mean, they need to play against some of the best players to keep developing, to keep getting better. So, I'd love to see him come in and challenge the back line a little bit and challenge some of our players without a doubt. It would be great to see him play. I haven't really been putting too much stock into Coachella Valley Invitational, the preseason tournament, especially from a Chicago perspective, because we're still bringing in some players into camp. Our new designated player, Jonathan Bamba, missed the first two. I think he missed the first two matches at the CVI and just came in the last one. We're still waiting for another signing, Romaning Kwame, to come in from Spain. So it's still a little in flux. I'm not putting too much stock into it. They barely had any offense the first game, losing to LAFC 1-0. They barely had anything going in their second game, drawing Portland 0-0. But then just earlier today, I think you guys will be happy, you Galaxy fans, that the Fire hung 5 in the first half against San Jose in the preseason match,
Yeah.
and then just did a complete like squad line change for the second half, and San Jose snuck one back from an Arango goal. But yeah, so I don't want to get too high or too low on it, but this should be a really good match between the Fire and the Galaxy, their last preseason match before the real season kicks off. So I'm looking forward to it, man. And you'll probably get our starters. They've been rotating some guys, but looking at the lineups, I think you're going to get the starting lineup that Chicago hopes to roll out on opening weekend.
Going back to the Royce thing, I wonder if Bastian Schweinsteiger told him, "Hey, when you go against Chicago Fire, you better bring your best because that's a team that could make the World Cup. So, you know,
Dude,
got to
that
get
joke
out
will
there."
never go away.
Never. And I keep telling people Neymar made a mistake. If by going to Santos, you missed out on an opportunity to play in the World Cup, man. Right?
That's it. Well, I mean, if you want to talk about Club World Cup now that's an expanded thing, but he'd have better luck doing that with Miami. Which that's
Yeah.
my like Neymar drama conspiracy theory that Chicago had the rights to negotiate with Neymar over any other MLS team, so he had to like get around that by saying I'm going to go to Santos and for like the next 6 months, and then I'll come back and negotiate with Miami. So
Yeah.
that's my crazy conspiracy theory. I don't know how MLS roster rules when it comes to like player negotiation rights breakdown, but that is that's something to keep an eye on for the summer transfer window.
Yeah, it could happen. Stranger things have happened. I mean, Messi's playing in the league, right?
That's it. That's it. So we'll see, man. But that was a fun like 6 days when it was Chicago Fire people talking to Neymar and trying to get him to come here.
It would have been so much fun, I think. Um,
Yeah,
yeah, another Galaxy news, Superman makes his official return to Southern California. And we're not talking about the movie, we're talking about Christian Ramirez, who, when he was playing with Minnesota United, he was one of the original players of Minnesota United. Him and his roommate used to be known as Batman and Superman because of their exploits with Minnesota United. Christian Ramirez, who is from Southern California, Went on to have a career that took him all around the league. Brought him to LAFC at one point. Went with Columbus, won some championships there. And now he's here in Southern California. And one of the funniest things is that the team hadn't officially announced him. So if you were looking at the streams or if you're looking at the social media, you'd see somebody named Trialist 17 on the roster, and you're like, who the heck is Trialist? And then you realize it's Christian Ramirez. Today the club officially announced him. Columbus Crew officially bade him goodbye, and LA Galaxy officially welcomed him into the fold. He himself um, tweeted on social media he was happy to be here in the LA area, and especially paraphrasing him, he said it's a club that he's always admired, and it's a dream come true for him to play for the LA Galaxy. So, um, happy homecoming for him, and we're looking forward to seeing what he can do for this club in the future. Um, yeah, Christian Ramirez. What kind of impact did he have in the Eastern Conference? Because we here in LA, we didn't get to see play Columbus that much, but I know Chicago, you guys get to see him like at least twice a season. What kind of player is LA Galaxy getting?
Yeah, so I like Christian Ramirez. He's one of those MLS guys that just needed to find the right fit, and he absolutely had that in Columbus. You saw him as that hometown favorite in Minnesota, coming up with the lower division teams, coming into the league, being kind of the star player. But Minnesota, as you recall, they had that really slow build. They were very, very methodical when they came into the league and just couldn't build around Ramirez fast enough. But when he got to Columbus, being a part of that three-headed attacking monster with Diego Rossi, with Cucho Hernandez, like he fit in so well with them and so well within Nance's system that I think, is going to be a very productive striker for the LA Galaxy, because you have just fantastic wingers. You have great midfielders. You have center backs with vision. So I think Ramirez is really going to thrive with LA. I'm I'm a little naive as far as like Western Conference defenses. I feel like compared to the East, you guys just bleed goals, but it's okay because you're going to win a game 4-3 or 5-4. So maybe you can correct me if my conception is wrong there, Edgar. But I think he's going to do very well for the Galaxy. He's gonna have his motor running. He's definitely going to be a player that's going to contribute for you guys from the moment he starts, without a doubt.
Yeah, I like the fact that he was so effervescent about coming to the LA Galaxy, expressing, this joy to be back home. Pretty much, he could spend time with his family. And there's nothing like home cooking, right? And especially because you spend so much of your time on the road as a professional athlete, but being able to come home, not just a place where it's like a temporary home, but a home, and have some of that home cooking is very appreciated. Take a quick aside, real quick, to just mention a fellow MLS podcaster named Ivan. He covers LAFC. Sadly, we I found out that his mother passed away over the weekend. So our thoughts are with him. It's always difficult when we hear about that happening anywhere within our Galaxy family and also our extended MLS family, because you never know what it's like until it happens to you.
Mhm.
And also, I would be remiss if I didn't say that. Yeah, our good friends at Charlotte FC, one of them, JT, he lost his father as well. That happened last week. So our thoughts, our prayers are with them, and during these difficult times, and we wish them the strength to carry on, because grief is something that you just can't turn on and turn off. It's something that you deal with, whether it's in the long term, or for a long time, and everybody grieves differently. So, we just wish you all the strength and to come in difficult moments.
Well said,
Um,
Edgar. Well said.
yeah. But real quick, Nick, you think it's time for something? My throat's a little dry. What do you think?
I think you're right, Edgar. Let's pause for a moment. Let's take a little, maybe halftime water break here. And
Let's have a water
all
break.
right, let's go.
Let's do
Take
that.
a little water break. Cheers. Cheers
Cheers.
to you. So today, I know a lot of shows will have their beers and they'll talk about their bourbons and whiskeys, but this is straight from good old Lake Illinois up here, formerly Lake Michigan, distilled, clear, refreshing. Unconfirmed rumors though, unconfirmed rumors that it's the purest Lake Illinois water that Mike McGee uses for his Sneaky Fox vodka.
Wow.
So just let me plug a little Galaxy and Chicago Fire legend there.
Yeah,
There
we're
it
always
is.
down from some Mike McGee. He's like the one guy that could show up to either stadium and get cheered because he's just that kind of person, right? Mike McGee,
Oh
the
yeah.
sneaky fox.
Do you follow him and his team at the TST at the soccer tournament?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. No, no. McGee is like he's a club legend over here, and I know a lot of people follow him on social media. He goes to spurts where he's very active, and and then other times where he's busy. I guess was just running his life. But yeah, he was. We saw him in TST, and he's a funny guy, man.
Oh
He
yeah.
put together a pretty good team too.
There's an old promo video that the Chicago Fire did with Mike McGee that parodied Ferris Bueller's Day
Oh
Off.
yes,
So
yes.
it's just phenomenal. If anyone out there is listening, you got to dig a little bit online for it. But if you can find like Mike McGee's Day Off from the Chicago Fire,
Oh my
it's
god.
hilarious video.
I love that video. I bring it up on my Twitter or my social media posts at least once a year, especially the extended version because it
Yeah.
has a young Sidney LaRue in a bikini, playing the part of Sloan from Ferris Bueller's Day Off, and I just love it. It's so well played. Everybody just nailed their parts. Even Thierry Henry's in there.
Yeah.
You know, you were the mayor of Chicago.
Dude, how much
It's
do we just date ourselves by referencing Ferris Bueller's Day Off? How about that?
Hey, it never gets old. I love that movie. It's
That's
such a good
good, man.
movie.
That's great.
Yeah.
But yeah, got my
Yeah,
here's to
no
our water
problem.
break. Cheers, sir.
A little water break there. Brian, to you too, man. Hmm.
All right.
So, we talked a little bit about the Chicago Fire and a lot of the turnover
Yeah.
in the off season. Can you go a little bit more in depth and tell us about who you think will be the real impact players and
Yeah.
what your expectations are for the upcoming season? And then, yeah, tell us that. And then lastly, I guess we could talk about the upcoming match this weekend.
Yeah, absolutely. And the focus is on the offense. Last year, the Chicago Fire had some of the worst offensive output in the league. They finished bottom of the Eastern Conference, second worst in the Supporter Shield standings. Thank you, San Jose Quakes, for taking the wooden spoon from us. But they only scored 40 goals. They gave up 62. Terrible goal differential, just terrible offensive and defensive stats all around. But with new head coach Greg Berhalter coming in, he's going to be playing the style that he's known for, very winger heavy, very outside in kind of play. So it was no surprise that the first big name signing he brought in, Philip Zinkernagel from Club Brugge, a winger, and a guy who is known for providing service to his fellow strikers and attacking players. That was the biggest piece lacking from their offense last season. You have a DP striker in Hugo Kuipers, a guy who won a Golden Boot in Germany, or not Germany, in Belgium, but could not find the service here in MLS. Part of it was Jordan Shaqiri just lobbing long balls up front. Part of it was not having a rapport with the outside wingbacks. And part of it was a lame duck coaching staff who really didn't have an identity, really didn't know what they were doing with running a full team. So now you've got an identity with the way Greg Berhalter wants to play. You're bringing in a lot of attacking players. To name them all, I mean, I could be running down the list here for the rest of the show, but the main guys you need to know, like I said, Philip Zinkernagel will probably be starting out on the left. Jonathan Bamba, the new designated player, brought him in from Celta Vigo over in Spain. He'll be out on the right. And then you got Kuipers up top. So Kuipers with 10 goals last season, despite being on a terrible Fire team, he had 25% of their goals. That could be, and I've been telling people, if you're a gambling person, if you got $5 lying around, throw it on Kuipers to be your golden boot dark horse candidate this year. He could have 20 goals with all these players around him because Zinkernagel, Bamba. You've got Brian Gutierrez, who is hopefully going to take that next step in his development after getting some time with the U.S. Men's national team in this January camp. I'm sure his confidence is through the roof. Those guys are not goal scorers. Bamba did have a season back in Lille in France in 2020, 2021 when they won the league. That, yeah, he did have double digit goals for them. But ever since, he has been more of a creator. You also are going to see Romanique Kwame come in on loan from Cadiz in Spain. He'll be more of an attacking player, but again, he is also a creator. So the only guy on this roster who is a pure goal scorer is Hugo Kuipers. So look for everything to be coming up the wings. You've got Andrew Gutman, who is an MLS journeyman, so to say, who is known for bombing up the field. You've got a new outside back in Leo Barroso, who's a Portuguese youth international. He's coming in from Sporting CP, and he's a guy that's going to be pushing up the wings as an outside back, and it's all going to get funneled into Hugo Kuipers. So I fully expect Greg Berhalter to be the one coach who says we're going to play attacking, attractive, fun, up-tempo soccer. Like, he's actually going to do it. It's not just for the cameras. It's not just for the press releases. I think he's actually going to play it with all these attacking pieces that the Fire have brought in.
And if a lot of Galaxy fans do not remember who Hugo Kuipers is, he was one of the people that scored a goal in that match where LA Galaxy went to Chicago and got shocked by the Fire. It was the first time I think LA Galaxy beat the Fire in like what was it?
It had been,
13, 14 years.
yeah.
14 years.
Well, that's what
and
we as Chicago Fire fans are laughing about, because who was in the MLS Cup final this year? Red Bulls and Galaxy. Two teams the Fire actually beat during the regular season. Couldn't do anything else, but they beat the two teams that were in the finals. And I remember being at that game with my cousins, that Galaxy game, and for whatever reason, Ricky Pooch decided to do the trend where like he rolled his shorts up, and like everyone was just, my cousin was calling him lady legs because he was showing a lot of skin that game. So hopefully that trend started and died there for the Galaxy.
Nah, that that match was like a huge shock to the system, and it just so coincided that right after that, Ricky actually got hurt. I remember, and it was after that. It was during that time when he was out that we discovered how good Gabriel Peck actually was, because all of a sudden Ricky Puig wasn't there trying to distribute the ball, and we had other people distributing the ball to the wings, and we're like, hey, we could survive without Ricky Puig, which is something that came in handy in the very end. But man, from a Chicago perspective, don't you wish you could play Galaxy and Red Bulls every week? I mean, you guys would be champs, right?
Whew, I mean, if last season is any indication, then yeah, for sure. But I wouldn't mind playing the Red Bulls this year. These two games, I think that their roster's in a little bit in flux. So I don't know if they'll have the same chances as making a repeat appearance in a trophy match this year. So I'll take that Red Bulls match. But no, I am happy we're not playing LA this year. You guys are way too talented, and I'm sure with Royce and Yoshida being so upset about their contract situations and about their teammates, they've got a lot to prove and back up their talk. So yeah, I would not want to be playing the Galaxy this season. That's for sure.
I know you. I noticed you've been kind of conservative in your expectations for Chicago. I mean, and it's merited. I mean, the team's been through a very, very rough time for quite a while now. But do you feel that this is a year where everything turns around? Because if you look across Major League Soccer, a lot of clubs went out and said, you know what, it's this year or bust, because we've
Yeah.
seen clubs, especially in the Eastern Conference, make big acquisitions. Atlanta, Charlotte, right, for example, and even out here at San Jose, getting Bruce. So a lot of clubs are trying to do what LA Galaxy did, go from being going through a difficult time and
Mhm.
making a big run at a cup. Do you think that maybe Chicago Fire is in the conversation for uh, not just making the playoffs, but going making a deep run?
Like you said before, anything's possible in MLS. This is a wacky league and it's built on parity. So using that context, yeah, it's not outside the realm of possibility. But where I stand, for me, in MLS, you are what you are until you prove you're not. And the Chicago Fire have not proven that they are a playoff caliber team. They haven't proven it for a long, long time. The last time they made the playoffs was in 2017. Last time they won a playoff game was in 2009. So the Fire have not proven to be that as an organization, but we have seen organizational change over the last year, year and a half, with new players coming in, with new sporting, with everything on the business side. So what a lot of non-Chicago fans don't know is there's a brand new training center. It was like $100 million training center that they've established. They have expanded their academy. They've expanded their youth programs. They have really built up their MLS Next Pro team. And with Berhalter coming in on the sporting side of it, he is establishing a pipeline and a specific style of play, a specific style of player they're scouting and that they want to bring in the second team. And they've set a goal for their first team of having 5 or 6 homegrowns rostered on the first team. So you have seen all these other pieces in the organization being built. They've like quadrupled their sponsorship money and other advertising revenue over the last couple of years. The Fire have been building everything else around this first team, and now they finally addressed it. They've got a coach who's got proven MLS tactics and experience, one who has said, I have learned from my mistakes coaching the USMNT. If you guys remember that first Mexico game, and he's like, we're playing the ball out of the back. That's what we're going to do. And then Mexico just pressed them into what I think 2 or 3 first half goals that time. Berhalter cited that in one of his press conferences, saying, like, I need to be more flexible and I need to be able to adapt to what's going on. We can't just stick to how I want to play. So he's grown as a coach, even though he's had success in MLS before. So you're going to see tactics, you're going to see identity, and you have all these changes with the first team, could be the last piece to get the Fire back to the playoffs. Now, that being said, I am tempering my expectations. I see the Fire as finishing right around the eighth place spot in the Eastern Conference this year. Because you're right, the rest of the East got really good too. You know, the teams at the top are staying at the top: Cincinnati, Columbus, New York, Miami, and then Atlanta's gotten better. Charlotte's gotten better. I don't think Toronto's doing anything. Maybe we get 6 points from Toronto this year. I don't know.
They got Robin
We'll see.
Fraser.
Yeah, that's true. You knew him from playing against him in Colorado. I've never been really high on Robin Fraser as a coach. Like, what's your take on him?
I like Robin Fraser. He's one of the original Galaxy players, and he was him and Dan Kalishman, who's currently a defensive coach with LA Galaxy, actually mentored Greg Vanny when he came in as a rookie in 1996. Um, it was such an impact that the three of them remained together when they both were managing and working with Chivas USA. And then they also worked together. I mean, Robin Fraser and Vanny worked together at Toronto FC. And a lot of people, uh, TFC fans that I've talked to, they credit Robin Fraser with the success that Greg Vanny had in Toronto during his tenure there because they felt that uh, he learned so much that a lot of times Robin Fraser was the man that was doing a lot of the legwork for him, and Vanny was just kind of getting in there and putting the roster together. Then he got his opportunity with Colorado. And speaking of our good friend Matt Pollard, who covers the Rapids, he mentioned several times that Fraser he had these ideas and they didn't work, but at the same time, Colorado Rapids is going through a phase where they really weren't putting too much effort into the team, and a lot of that has to do with their ownership, right? It's something that we've talked about a lot here in News Across the Galaxy when we had Matt on, but it took a fan protest for them to finally start to pay attention to the club and start to invest in the club. And where have we heard that before, right? We went through it here in LA. So protests work. As far as Toronto FC, I know that when in the past, when that team was firing on all cylinders, man, BMO Stadium was rocking. Um, I don't know if we're gonna see any of that in the near future, but I do wish Robin Fraser the best. He has a good, sound footballing mind he's a guy who hasn't gotten a lot of the respect that some other bigger names have gotten. But
Mhm.
Toronto, man, that's a really difficult task. So more power to him. Um, but reining it back in,
Yeah.
um, what should Galaxy fans that are traveling to the match this weekend? I'm gonna be there, by the way. What should we expect from this preseason match? Granted, it is preseason, but we're gearing up for the beginning of the MLS regular season. It's coming quicker than we think. What should Galaxy fans expect from Chicago?
I think they should expect the Chicago Fire's anticipated starters to be the ones starting this match and going at least the first half to 60 minutes. We've seen Greg Berhalter play, 4 or 5 projected starters the first match, 6 or 7 the second match. I think 9 projected starters played in this most recent win over San Diego. And so hopefully striker Hugo Kuipers gets back up to 100% fitness and they can get the starting lineup to play together for 60 minutes. Get those wingers involved, get that striker involved, as well as watch to see if the center back pairing of Carlos Terran and Sam Rogers can develop, or if Jack Elliott is fully fit, if he's going to get some time. So that's what I would expect. If I was a Galaxy fan, I'd expect this to be treated like a regular season match because it's the Fire's final tune up before the regular season actually kicks off.
And it'll actually be a very good test for the LA Galaxy because, something I forgot to mention earlier, as we heard earlier this week, Joseph Paintsil actually got injured. And it's an injury that's going to keep him out anywhere from 4 to 6 weeks. And it's fascinating to me that he went so long without getting injured, like a serious injury, because at one point he had played for either club or country for 21 straight months.
Whew.
And so for him to actually get injured during a time when LA Galaxy, is just trying to take it easy as they prepare for the regular season and for the Champions Cup. Yeah, I mean, damn, it couldn't have come at a more difficult time. Now, Vanny and his coaching staff have to figure out how they're gonna rework that Galaxy attack because so much of it dependent on the three Ps. Puja's out, Pinto's out now. Gabriel Peck, hey buddy, it's up to you. And let's see what Christian Ramirez can do. And still floating around in the ether is talks about bringing in a loan from Botafogo in Mateos Nascimento, which we never know. We might hear Galaxy finally land him either later this week or maybe next week, but they're gonna need somebody to come in and have some impact because they're gonna lose some of that firepower up top. So having to face against a full strength Chicago Fire squad, that's going to be a good test. Hopefully, we get to see Marco Roche because he's going to want to impress his buddy there, Bastian Schweinsteiger. He's like, hey, look, I played against your team, man. Um, any predictions for this match?
I expect goals. I expect maybe like a 4-3 score line. Um, it's preseason. I think the players are excited. They're ready to get going. They want to test themselves. They want to test their opponents, and yeah, I expect goals on this one. So yeah, let's say 4-3 Chicago Fire on this one.
Ooh, look at that. Man,
Yeah,
beat the Galaxy for the first time in 14 years, and you get okay, oh brave. Look at that.
it's preseason. Take from it what you will.
Yeah, what was in that water you drank?
I I assure you, it's pure Chicago water here.
Sure, it
But
wasn't
but I
something
will say,
sneaky.
looking ahead to Chicago's schedule, though, we'll do what
Yeah.
we can to help you guys out. We've got games against LAFC and San Diego this summer, so hopefully we can take 6 points from those and help out the Galaxy in a little of the standings.
Thank you so much, Nick. Well, that brings us to the end of the midweek show. Hey, Nick, thank you so much for joining us tonight. It's always a joy to have you on the show. It's always great to talk MLS and Chicago Fire with you. Tell everybody where they can find you.
Absolutely. Wherever you get your podcasts, look for the Feed the Fire podcast episodes once or twice a week talking Chicago Fire and MLS. And I'm on all social media channels as Glass House Soccer. Hopefully, you can follow along and join the conversation there.
As always, everybody, thank you so much. Bryant, thank you once again for your wonderful production. Can we get some horns for Bryant? As always, hey, everybody, you have a good night. Hopefully, I'll see a lot of you there this weekend. If you see me, come up to me. Hey, let's throw up some Wu Tang dubs, and let's have a great weekend. Until then, this is Edgar from News Across the Galaxy, the Midweek Show. We'll see you next time. And as always, Wu Tang for life, baby. Let's go, Brian.